Hello, my hatchlings. Hope you had a nice break. Yay. Let's go for horror again. Yay. Okay, let's see. Where was I? Okay. Just gonna wait a little bit until people join. Now wait like 1 minute or two. Oh, a little bit chilly. Yeah, no, I have my warm hoodie on, even though it's still cold. So I'm gonna grab a blanket later. Ooh, maybe I should make some hot chocolate later. I gotta be careful though, because every fluffing single time I always burn my mouth and be like, ah, even though I blow on it. So I'm like a cat being like, oh, and burning my tongue, being like, eh. Like Gigi from Kiki's Delivery Service. It's a Studio Ghibli movie, really nice. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna start now. It's been over a minute. Chapter 8. Mina Mujura's journal. Same day, 11 o'clock p.m. Oh, but I'm tired. If I were not that I had made my diary on duty, I should not open it tonight. We had a long, lovely walk. Lucy, after a while, was in great spirit, a winged, I think. To some dear cows who came nosing towards us in the field, close to the lighthouse, and frightened the wits out of us. I believe we forgot everything except, of course, personal fear, and it seemed to wipe the slate clean and give us a fresh start. We had a capital serve tea at our Robin Hood's Bay in a sweet little old-fashioned inn, with a bow window right over the seaweed-covered rocks of the strand. I believe we should have shocked the new woman with our appearance. Men are more tolerable, bless them. Then we walked home with some, or rather many, stropbooks to rest, and with our hearts full of constant dread of wild bulls. Lucy was really tired, and we intended to creep off to bed as soon as we could. The young curate came in, however, and Mrs. Westenra asked him to stay for supper. Lucy and I had both had a fight for it with a Dusty Miller. I know it was hard fight on my part, and I'm quite heroic. I think that day the bishop must have got together and see how breeding up a new class of courtiers who don't take supper no matter how hard they may be pressed to, and how we'll know when girls are tired. Lucy's asleep and breathing softly. She has more color in her cheeks than usual and looks oh so sweet. If Mr. Holmwood fell in love with her, seeing her only in the drawing room, I wonder what he would have said if he saw her now. Some of the new women writers will someday start an idea that men and women should be allowed to see each other sleep before proposing or accepting. But I suppose the new women won't condescend in the future to accept. She will do the proposing herself, and a nice job she will make of it too. There's some constellation in that. I'm so happy tonight because dear Lucy seems better. I really believe that she turned the corner. And then we are over her troubles with dreams. I should be quite happy if only I knew if Jonathan, God bless him, keep him. August 11, diary again. No sleep now. so I may as well write. I'm too agitated to sleep. We have had such an adventure, such an agonizing experience. I fell asleep as soon as I had closed my diary. Suddenly, became broad awake and sat up in a horrid sense of fear upon me, and of some feeling of emptiness around me. The room was dark, so I could not see Lucy's bed. I stole across the feel of her. The bed was empty. I lit a match and found that she was not in the room. The door was shut, but not locked, and I had felt it. The fear to wake her mother, who had been more than usual ill lately, so threw on some clothes and got ready to look for her as I was leaving the room in stuck me it struck me that the clothes she wore might give me some clue to her dreaming situation. Dressing gown would mean a house. Dress outside. Uh, Dressing gown and dress were both in their place. Thank God, I said to myself. She cannot be far. She's only in her nightdress. I ran downstairs to look in the sitting room. Not there. Then I looked all on the other room of the house, with a even growing fear chilling my heart. Finally, I came to the hall door and found it open. It was not wide open, but the hatch of the lock had not been caught. The people of the house are careful to lock the house door every night, so I fear that Lucy must have gone out as she was. There was no time to think what it might be. A vague, overmastering fear obscured all details. I took a big heavy shawl and ran out. The clock was striking 1 as I was in the crescent, and there was not a soul in sight. I ran along the north terrace, but could not see a single sight of the white figure which I expected. At the edge of the west cliff above the pier, I looked across the harbour of the east cliff, in the hope or fear, I don't know which, of seeing Lucy in her favourite seat. There was a bright moon, a full moon, with heavy black driving clouds, which threw the whole scene in a fleeting diorama of light and shade as they sailed across. For a moment or two I could see nothing as the shadows of the cloud obscured St. Mary Church and all around it. Then as the cloud passed I could see the ruins of the abbey coming into view. As the edge of the narrow band of the light as sharp as a sword cut moving along the church and the churchyard became gradually visible. Where my expectation was, it was not disappointed, for there, in a favourite seat, in the silver light of the moon, struck a half reclined figure, snow white. The coming of the cloud was too quick for me to see much, but shadow shut down a light almost immediately. It seems to me as though something dark stood behind the seat where the white figure shone, and bent over. What it was, whether the man or a beast, I could not tell. I did not wait to catch another glare, but flew down the steps into the pier along the fishing market to the bridge, which was the only way to reach the east cliff. The town seemed as dead, for not a soul did I see. I rejoiced that it was so, for I wanted no witness of poor Lucy's condition. The time and distance seemed endless, and my knees trembled, and my breath came in labours as I toiled up the endless steps of the abbey. I must have gone fast, and yet it seems to me as if my feet were weighted with lead, and as though every joint in my body were rusty. When I got almost to the top, I could see the seat and the white figure, for was no close enough to distinguish it even through the spell of shadows. There was undoubtedly something long and black bending over a half-reclined white figure, and I called in fright, "Lucy! Lucy!" And something raised and something raised a head, and from where I was, I could see white fangs and red gleaming eyes. Lucy did not answer, and I ran to the entrance of the churchyard. As I entered, the shirt was between me and the seat, and for a moment or so I lost sight of her. When I came into view again, the cloud had passed, and the moonlight struck so brilliant that I could see Lucy half reclined with her head lying over the back of the seat. She was quite alone, and there was not a sign of any living about. When I bent over Lucy, I could see that she was still asleep. Her lips were parted, and she was breathing, not softly as usual with her, but in long, heavy gasps, as though striving to get her lungs full at every breath. As I came close, she put up her hand in her sleep and pulled the collar of her nightdress close around her as though she could feel the cold. I flung the warm shawl around her and drew the edges tight around her neck, for I dreaded at least she could get some deadly chill from the night air, unclad as she was. I feared to wake her all at once, so in order to have my hands free to help her, I fastened the shawl to her throat in a big safety pin. But I must have been clumsy in my anxiety and pinched or prickled her with it, for by and by, when she breath became quiet and she put her hand on her throat again and moaned. When I had her carefully wrapped up, I put my shoes on her feet and began to very gently to walk her. At first she did not respond, but gradually she became more and more uneasy in her sleep, moaning and sighing occasionally. At first was passing fast, and for many other reasons I wished to get her home at once. I shook her forcefully, till finally she opened her eyes and woke, and till not seemed surprised to see me, as of course she did not realize at once where she was. Lucy finally waked prettily, and even at such a time when her body must have been chilled with cold, and her mind somewhat appalled by waking unclad in a churchyard at night. She did not lose her grace. She trembled a little and clung to me. When I told her to come at once with me home, she rose without a word, with the obedience of a child. As we passed along the gravel hurt my feet, and Lucy noticed me wince. She stopped and wanted to insist upon my taking my shoes, but I would not. However, when we got to the pathway outside the church, where there were a puddle of water remaining for the storm, I dabbled my feet with mud, used each foot in turning to the other, and as that we went home. No one, in case we should meet anyone, would notice my bare feet. Fortunate favor us, as we got home without meeting a soul. Once we saw a man who seemed not quite sober pass along the street in front of us, but we hid in a door till it disappeared up an opening such as there are here. Stepping a little closer to or waits, as they were called down in Scotland. My heart beats so loud all the time. Sometimes I thought I would faint. I was filled with anxiety about Lucy, not only for her health, but lest her should suffer from exposure, but for her reputation in case the story should get wild and wind. When we got in and had washed our feet and had say a prayer of thankfulness together, I tucked her in bed before falling asleep. She asked, even implored me not to say a word to anyone, even her mother, about her sleepwalking adventure. I hesitated at first, but promised, but on thinking of the state of her mother's health and how the knowing of such a thing would fret her, and think too of how such a story might become distorted, nay, unfathomable would, in case it should leak out. I thought it's wise to do so. I hope I did right. I have locked the door and the key is tied to my wrist, so perhaps I shall not be again disturbed. Lucy is sleeping soundly. The reflex of the dawn is high and far over the sea. Same day, noon. All goes well. Lucy slept till I woke her and seemed not to have any change her side. The adventure of the night does not seem to have harmed her. On the contrary, it has benefited her, for she looks better uh, this morning than she have ever done for weeks. I'm sorry. I was so sorry to notice that my clumsiness with my safety pin had hurt her. Indeed, it might have been serious, for the skin of her throat was pierced. It must have been the pins of the piece of loose skin that have transfixed, for there were two little red points of pink pricks on the bands of her night dress. Was a drop of blood. When I apologized and was concerned about it, she laughed and patted me and said she did not feel it. Fortunately, it cannot leave a scar, as it is so tiny. Same day, night. We passed a happy day. The air was clean and the sun was bright and there was a cool breeze. We took our lunch to Mulgrave Woods. Mrs. Westenra driving by the road, and Lucy and I walked by the cliff path and joining her at the gate. I felt a little sad myself, for I could not but feel how absolutely happy it would have been had been Jonathan be with me. But there, I must only be patient. In the evening, we strolled in the casino terrace. And had some good music by Sproche and Mackenzie's, and went to bed early. Lucy seemed more restful than she had been for some time, and fell asleep at once. I shall lock the door and secure the key the same way as before, though I, I do not expect any trouble tonight. August 12th. My expectations were wrong, for twice during the night I was wakened by Lucy trying to get out. She seemed, even in her sleep, to be a little impatient to find the door shut, and went back to bed under a sort of protest. I woke up in the dawn and heard the birds chirping inside the window. Lucy woke up too, and I was glad to see that even better than on the previous morning, all her old gaiety of manner seemed to have come back, and she came and snuggled in beside me and told me all about Otter. I told her how anxious I was about Jonathan, and then she tried to comfort me. Well, she succeeded somewhat, though, for though sympathy can't alter facts, it can make them more bearable. August 13. Another quiet day, and to bed with the key on my wrist as before. Again, I woke up in the night and found Lucy sitting up in bed, still asleep, pointing at the window. I got up quietly and pulling aside the blinds to look out. It was brilliant moonlight, and the soft effect of the light over the sea and sky, merged together in one great silent mystery, was beautiful beyond words. Between me and the moonlight flitted a great bat, coming and going in great swirly circles. A bat? That's so cute. But it's probably Dracula being like, oh damn, why can't I get in? Being like, hello ladies, let me in. I'm such a catch. Once or twice it came quite close, but was, I suppose, frightened to see me, and fitted away across the harbour towards the abbey. When I came back from the window, Lucy had laid down again and was sleeping peacefully. She did not She did not stir again all night. August 14. On the East Cliff, reading and writing all day, Lucy seemed to have become as much in love with the spot as I am. And it's hard to get her away from it when it's time to come home for lunch or tea or dinner. This afternoon she made a funny remark. We were coming home from dinner and had come to the top of the step up the West Pier and stopped and looked at the view, as we generally do. Let's see. The setting sun low down in the sky was just dropping behind Kettleness. The red light was drowned over the east cliff and the old abbey, and seeming to bathe everything in a beautiful rosy glow. We were silent for a while, and suddenly Lucy mumbled to herself, "His red eyes again. They're just the same." It was such an odd expression, coming a prose of nothing, and it quite startled me. I slowed around a little bit, so just to see Lucy well without seeing to stare at her, and saw that she was in a half dreamy state, with an odd look on her face, and I could not quite make out. So I said nothing, but followed her eyes, and she appeared to be looking over at her own seat, whereabout was a dark figure seated alone. It was quite a little start myself, for it seems for an instant as if the stranger had great eyes like burning flames, but a second look dispelled the illusion. The red sunlight was shining on the windows of St. Mary Church behind our seat. And as the sun dipped, there were just sufficient chance in the reflection to make it appear as if the light moved. I called Lucy's attention to the peculiar effect, and she became herself with a start, but she looked sad all the same. It may have been what she was thinking of that terrible night up there, when we never referenced to it, so I said nothing as we went home to dinner. Lucy had a headache and went early to bed. I saw her asleep and went out on a little stroll myself. I walked along the cliffs to the westward and was full of sweet sadness, for I was thinking of Jonathan. When coming home, it was then bright moonlight, so bright that I thought the front of our part of the crescent was in shadow. Everything could be well seen. I threw a glance at our window and saw Lucy head leaning out. I opened my handkerchief and waved it. She did not notice or make any movement whatsoever. Just then the moonlight crept around the angle of the building, and the light fell on the window. There, distinctly, was Lucy with her head lying up against the side of the window sill and her eyes shut. Um, she was fast asleep, and by her, seated by the window sill, was something that looked like a good-sized bird. I was afraid she might get chill, so I ran upstairs, but as I came into the room she was moving back to her bed, fast asleep and breathing heavily. She looked at her hand and her throat as though to protect it from cold. I did not wake her, but tucked her up warmly, and I have taken care that the door is locked and that the window is secured fastened. She looks so sweet as she sleeps, but she is paler than is she wont, and there it's a drawn haggard under her eyes, which I don't like. I fear that she is fretting about something. I wish I could find out what it is. August 15. Rose. Later than usual. Lucy was lethargic and tired, and slept on after we had been called. We had a happy surprise at breakfast. Arthur's father is better and wants the marriage to come off soon. Lucy is full of quiet joy, and her mother is glad and sorry at once. Later on in the day, she told me the cause. She's grieving to lose Lucy as her very own, but she's overjoyed that she is soon to have someone to protect her. Poor dear, sweet lady. She confided to me that she has got her death warrant. I had not told Lucy and made her promise secretly. Her doctor told her that within a few months at most she must die. I'm sorry, but the English, yeah, in a few months you must die. I know it's old English, but ah, yeah, I'm sorry, I shall continue. Let's see here. For her heart is weakening. At any time, even now, a sudden shock would be most sure to kill her. Ah, we were wise to keep from her the affair of the dreadful night of Lucy's sleepwalking. Yeah, I don't want to kill the mother. No. Anyhow. August 17. No diary for 2 whole days. I have not had a heart to write. Some of the shadow pall seems to be coming over our happiness. No news from Jonathan, and Lucy seems to be growing weaker, while her mother's hours are numbering to a close. I do not understand Lucy's fading away as she is doing. She eats well and sleeps well and enjoys the fresh air, but all the time the roses in her cheeks are fading, and she gets weaker and more lethargic day by day. At night I hear her gasping as if for air. I keep a key of our door always fastened around my wrist at night, but she gets up and walks around the room and sits at the open window. Last night I found her leaning out when I woke up, and I tried to wake her up, but I could not. She was in a faint. When I managed to restore her, she was weak as water, and cried silently between long painful struggles to breathe. When I asked her how she came to the window, she shook her head and turned away. I trust her feeling ill may not be from the unlucky prick of the safety pin. I looked at her throat just now as she lay asleep, and tiny wounds seemed not to have healed. They are still open, and if anything, larger than before, and the edges of them are faintly white. They are like little white dots with red centers. Unless they heal within a day or two, I shall insist the doctor seeing about them. Letter Samuel F. Bringington and son of Solicitor Whitby to Merce Carter's Patterson's Co.E. London. 17th of August. Dear Sirs, herewith please receive invoke of goods sent by Great Northern Railway. Same are to be delivered at Carfax near Purfleet immediately on receipt at Goods Station, King's Crossing. The house is at present empty, but enclosed please find keys, all of which are labeled. You will please deposit the boxes, 15 in number, which form the consignment, in the parallel ruined building forming part of the house and marked A. A rough diagram enclosed. Your agent will easily recognize the locality as it is the ancient chapel of the mansion. The goods leave by the train at 9:30 tonight and will be due at King's Crossing at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. As our client wishes to delivery made as soon as possible, we shall be obliged by you by your terms having terms ready by King's Crossing at the time named and forthwith convenience the goods to destination, in order to obviate any delays possible throughout any routine requirements as to payment in your departments. We enclose a cord herewith for £10 recipe of which please acknowledge. Should the change be less than this amount, you can return balance. If greater, we shall at once send chapeau for different on hearing from you. You are to leave the keys on coming away in the main hall of the house, where the proprietor may get them on his entry the house by means of his duplicate key. Pray do not take us as exceeding the bounds of the business courtesy in pressing you in all ways to use the utmost expedition. We are, dear sir, faithfully yours, Samuel F. Brington and Son. Letter, Messrs. Carters, Patterson and Co. London, to Messrs. Billington and Son and Whitby. 21st of August. Dear sirs, we beg to acknowledge £10 received and to return ships £1, 7s and 9d amounts of overplus as shown in receipt account herewith. Goods are delivered in exact accordance with instruction and key left in parcel in main hall as directed. We are, dear sir, yours respectfully, Pro Carter, Patterson and Co. Oh wait, you probably say CO. My bad. August 18th. Mina Murray's Ural. I'm happy today and right sitting on the seat in the churchyard. Lucy's ever so much better. Last night she slept well all night and did not disturb me once. The roses were coming back already on her cheeks, although she is still sadly pale and wan looking. If she were in any way Emnike could understand it, but she is not. She is in great spirit and full of life and cheerfulness. All the morbid resistance seems to have passed from her. She has just reminded me that if I needed any reminding of that night, and that was there. On this very seat I found her asleep. As she told me, she tapped playfully with the heel of her boots and stone slab and said, My poor little feet did not make much noise then. I dare say poor old Mrs. Swallows would have told me that it was because I didn't want to wake up Georgie. She was in such a communicative humor. I asked her if she had dreamt about it all night. Before she answered, that sweet, puckered look came into her forehead, which Arthur, I call him Arthur from her habit, says he loves. And indeed, I don't wonder that he does. Then she went on in a half dreamy kind of way, as if trying to recall it herself. I didn't quite dream, but it all seemed too real. I only wanted to be I only wanted to be here in this spot. I don't know why, for I was afraid of something, I don't know what. I remembered, though I suppose I was asleep, passing through the streets and over the bridge. A fish leaped as I went by, and I leaned over and looked at it, and I heard a lot of dogs howling. The whole town seemed as if it must have been full of dogs howling all at once. As I went up the steps, then I have a vague memory of something long and dark with red eyes, just as we saw in the sunset, and something very sweet and very bitter all around me at once. And then I seemed sinking into a deep green water, and there was a singing in my ear, and I have heard that there is to drowning men, and then everything seemed passing away from me. My soul seemed to have gone out of my body and float about the air. I seem to remember that once the west lighthouse was right underneath me, and then there was a sort of agonizing feeling, as if I were in an earthquake, and I came back and forth, you shaking my body. I saw you doing it before I felt you. That what? What? Oh, excuse you? Oh, what? Okay, I guess we have some extra visitors on the stream. Llama trader. Kind of scared me for a second. Cat hair. Anyhow, let's see here. Then she began to laugh. It seems a little uncanny to me, and I listened to her breathlessly. I did not quite like it, as though it better not keep her mind on the subject, so we drifted on to other subject, and Lucy was like her old self again. When we got home, the fresh breeze had braced her up, and her pale cheeks was really more rosy. Her mother rejoiced when she saw her, and we all spent a very happy evening together. August 19th. Joy, joy, and joy, although not all joy. Last night, news of Jonathan. The dear fellow has been ill. It's why he haven't. That's why he have not written. I'm not afraid to think it or to say it. Now that I know, Mr. Hawkins sent me on the letters and wrote himself, oh so kindly. I am not to leave in the morning. I am to leave in the morning and go over to Jonathan, and to help to nurse him if necessary, and to bring him home. Mr. Hawkins says it would not be so bad thing if we were to be married out there. I have cried over the good sister's letter till I can feel it wet against my bosom. Wherever it lies, it is of Jonathan. It must be near my heart, for he is my heart. My journey is all mapped out and my luggage ready. I am only taking I'm only taking one change of dress. Lucy will bring my trunk to London and keep it till I send for it. For it may be that I must write no more. I must keep it to say to Jonathan, my husband. The letters that he has been seen and touched must comfort me till we meet. Letter, Sister Agatha, Hospital of St. Joseph and St. Mary, Budapest, to Miss Wilhelmina Murray. Wilhelmina? 12th of August. Dear Madam, I write to the sire of Mr. Jonathan Hawker, who is himself not strong enough to write, though progressing well, thanks to God, and St. Joseph and St. Mary. He has been under our care for nearly 6 weeks, suffering from a violent brain fever. He wished me to converse his love, to say that by this post I write for him to Mr. Peter Hawkins, exeter, to say with his dutiful respect that he is sorry for his delay, and that all of his work is complete. He will require some few weeks' rest in our sanctimonium in the hills, but will then return. He wishes me to say that he has not sufficed money with him, and that he would like to pay for his staying here, so that the others who need shall not be wanting help. Believe me, yours with sympathy and all blessings, Sister Agatha. P.S. My patient's being asleep, I opened this to let you know something more. He has told me all about you, and that you shortly to be his wife. All blessings to you both. He had some fearful shock, or so says our doctor, and in his delirium his ravishing have been dreadful, of wolves and poison and blood, of ghosts and demons, and I fear to say of what. Be careful of him always, that there may be nothing to excite him of this kind for a long time to come. The traces of such illness as his do not lightly die away. We should have written a long time ago, but we knew nothing of his friends. There was nothing on him, nothing that anyone would understand. He came in the train from Klassenburg, and the guard was told by the station master that they had to rush him into the station, shouting for a ticket for home. Seeing from his violent demeanour that he was English, they gave him a ticket for the further station on the way till that the train reaches. Be assured that he is well cared for. He has won all hearts by his sweetness and gentleness. He is truly getting on well, and I have no doubt will in a few weeks be all himself. But be careful of his safety's sake. There are, I pray God, and St. Jonathan and St. Mary, many, many happy years for you both. Dr. Stewart's Diary, August 19. Strange and sudden changes in Renfield last night. About 8 o'clock he began to get excited and sniff about as a dog does when setting. The attendant was struck by his manner, and knowing my interest in him, encouraged him to talk. He is usually respectful to the attendant, and at this times servile, but tonight the man tells me he was quite haughty, would not concede to talk with him at all. All he would say was, "I don't talk." to talk to you. You don't count now. The master is at hand. The attendant think it's some sort of form of religious mania which has seized him. If so, we must look out for quarrels, for a strong man with homicidal and religious mania at once might be dangerous. The combination is a dreadful one. At 9 o'clock I visited him myself. His attitude to me was the same as that of the attendant. In his sublime self-feeling, the difference between myself and the attendant seemed to him as nothing. It looked like a religious maniac, and he will soon think that he himself is God. The infinitesimal distinctions between man and a man who are too paltry for a omnipotent being. Who these madmen give themselves away? The real God takes heed's last a sparrow's fall, but the God creates from human vanity, seeing no difference between an eagle and a sparrow. Oh, if only oh, if men only knew. For half an hour or more, Rhinefields kept getting excited in greater and greater degree. I did not pretend to be watching him, but I kept strict observation at all the same. All at once the shifty look came into his eyes, which we have always seen when a madman has seized an idea, and with it the shifty movement of the head and back, which asylum attendants come to know so well. He became quiet, and went and sat on the edge of his bed resignedly, and looked into space with blank, lustered eyes. I thought I would find out in his paths were real or only as assumed, and he tried to lead him to talk of his pets or themes which had never failed to excite his attention. At first he made no reply, but at length said testily, "Bother them all. I don't care about a pin. I don't care a pin about them." "What?" I said. "You don't mean to tell me you don't care about spiders?" Spiders at present are his hobby, and the notebook is filled up to the column of small figures. To this he answered enigmatically, "The maidens rejoice, the eyes that wait the coming of the bride. But when the bride thought nighed, then the maiden shine not the eyes of the field." He would not explain himself, but remained obsessively seated on his bed. All the time I remained with him. I'm weary tonight and low in spirit. I cannot think of Lucy and how different things might have been. If I don't sleep at once, Dracula, the modern Morpheus, I must be careful not to let it grow into habit. No, I shall take none tonight. I have thought of Lucy, and I shall not dishonor her by mixing the two. If need be, tonight shall be sleepless. Later, glad I made the resolution, gladder that I kept to it. I had lain tossing about and had heard the clock strike only twice when the night watchman came to me, sent up from the ward to say that Reinfeldt had escaped. I threw on my clothes and ran down at once. My patient is too dangerous a person to be roaming about. Those ideas of his might work out dangerously with strangers. The attendant was waiting for me. He said that he had seen him not 10 minutes before, seemingly asleep in his bed, when he had looked through the observation trap in the door. His attention was called by the sound of the window being wrenched out. He ran back and saw his feet disappear through the window, and at once set up for me. He was only in his night gear and cannot be far. The attendant, though it would be more useful to watch where he should go than to follow him, as he might lose sight of him whilst getting out of the building by the door. He's a bulky man I couldn't get through the window. I am thin, so with his aid I got out, but feet foremost, and as we were only a feet above the ground, landed unhurt. The attendant told me the patient had gone to the left and had taken a straight line, so I ran as quickly as I could. As I got through the belt of the trees, I saw a white figure scale the high wall with separate which separate the ground from those of the deserted house. I ran back at once, told the watchman to get 3 or 4 men immediately and follow me into the grounds of Carafax, in case our friend might be dangerous. I got the ladder myself and crossed the wall. Dropped by on the other side, I could see Renfield's figure just disappearing behind the angle of the house, and I ran after him. On the far side of the house, I found him pressed close against the old iron-bound oak door of the chapel. He was talking, apparently to someone, but I was afraid to go too near to hear what he was saying. At least I might frighten him, and he should run off. Chasing an errant swarm of bees is nothing to follow a naked lunatic when the fit of escape is upon him. After a few minutes, however, I could see they did not take note of anything around him, and so ventured to draw near to him. The more so my men had now crossed the wall and were closing in on him, I heard him say, "I'm here to do your bidding, master. I am your slave, and you will reward me, for I shall be faithful. I have worshipped you long and afar off. Now that you are near, I await your command, and you will not pass me by, will you, dear master, in your distribution of good things?" He is a selfish old beggar anyhow. He thinks of the loaves and fishes even when he believes believes he's is a real believes he's in is in a real presence. His mania make a startling combination. When we close in on him, he fought like a tiger. He is immensely strong, for he was more like a wild beast than a man. I never saw a lunatic in such a paroxysm of rage before, and I hope I shall not again. It is a mercy that we have found out his strength and his danger in good time. With strength and determination like this, he might have done wild work before he was caged. He is safe now, at any rate. Jack Sheppard himself couldn't get free from the strained waistcoat that kept him restrained, and he's chained to the wall in the padded room. His cries are at times awful, but the silence are followed or more deadly still, for he means murdering in every turn and moment. Just now he spoke coherent words at first. I shall be patient, master. It is coming, coming, coming. So I took the hint and came to. I was too excited to sleep, but this diary has quieted me, and I felt I shall sleep tonight. Oh, they disappeared. Wait. Why? Okay, never mind. Uh, Chapter 9, you guys. Budapest, August 24th. My dearest Lucy, I know you will be anxious to hear all that's happened since we parted at the railway station at Whitby. Well, my dear, I got to Hull all right and caught the boat to Hamburg and the train on here. Need to stretch. I felt that I can hardly recall anything on the journey, except that I knew I was coming to Jonathan, and that as I should have to do some nursing. I had better get some sleep. Better get all the sleep I can. Well, I had better get all the sleep I could. I found my dear one. Oh, so thin and pale and weak looking. All the resolution has gone out of his dear eyes, and the quiet, diligent which I told you was his face has vanished. He's only a wreck of himself, and does not remember anything at all happened to him for a long time. At least he wants me to believe so, and I shall never ask. Let's see. Need to scroll down. He has had a terrible shock, and I fear it might tax his poor brain if he were to try to recall it. Sister Agatha, who is a good creature and a born nurse, tell me that he wanted her to tell me what they were, but she would only cross herself and say that she would never tell. The ravage of the sick were the secret of God, and that if a nurse, though her vocation, should hear them, she she could she should respect her trust. She's a sweet, good soul, and the next day, when she saw I was troubled, she opened up the subject. My poor dear waved about, added, I can tell you this, my dear, that it was not about anything which he was done wrong himself, and you, as his wife to be, have no cause to be concerned. He has not forgotten you or what he owns to you. His fear was of great and terrible things, which no mortal can treat of. I do believe the dear soul, though I might be jealous lest my poor dear should have fallen in love with any other girl. The idea of me being jealous about Jonathan And yet, my dear, let me whisper, I feel a thrill of joy through me when I knew that no other woman was the cause for trouble. I was now sitting by his bedside, where I see his face while he's asleep. He's waking. When he woke, he asked me for his coat, as he wanted to get something from the pocket. I asked Sister Agatha, and she brought all his things. I saw amongst them his notebook, and was going to ask him to let me look at it, for I knew that I might find some clue of troubles. But I suppose he must have seen my wishes in my eyes, for he sent me over to the window, saying that he wanted to be quiet alone for a moment. Then he called me back, and he said to me very somberly, Wilhelmia, I knew that when he was in I knew then that he was in deadly earnest. We have never called me by that name since he asked to marry me. You know, dear, my ideas of the trust between husband and wife. There should be no secrets, no concealment. I have had a great shock, and when I try to think of what I felt, my head spins around, and I do not know if it was real, of the dreaming of a madman. You know, I had brain fever, and that it is to be mad. The secret is here, and I do not want to know it. I want to take my life here, with our marriage, for my dear. We had decided to be married as soon as the formalities are complete. Are you willing, Wilhelmina, to share my ignorance? Here is the book. Take it, keep it, read it if you will, but never let me know unless indeed some solemn duty should come up upon me to go back to the bitter hours, asleep or awake, sane or mad, recorded here. He fell back exhausted as I put the book under his pillow and kissed him. I have to ask the Sister Agatha to beg the supervisors to let our wedding be this afternoon, and await her reply. She has come to she has come to told me that the chaplains of the English mission church has been sent here. We are to be married in an hour, or as soon as after Jonathan awakes. Lucy, time has come and gone. I feel very solemn, but very, very happy. Jonathan awoke a little bit after the hour, and all was ready, and he sat up in bed, propped up by a pillow. He answered his "I will" firmly and strong, and I could hardly speak. My heart was full, and then that even these words seemed to choke me. The dear sisters were so kind. Please God, I shall never ever forget them, nor the grave and sweet responsibility you have taken upon me. I must tell you of my wedding present. When the chaplain and the sisters had left me alone with my husband, oh Lucy, it is the first time I have written the words my husband left me alone with my husband. I took the book from under his pillow and wrapped it up in white paper and tied it in a little bit of pale blue ribbon, which was rounded by my neck, which was around my neck, and sealed it over the knot with a waxing seal. And for my seal, I used my wedding ring. Then I kissed it and showed it to my husband, told him that I would keep it, and then I would be an outward and visible sign for us all our lives that we must trust each other, and I would never open it unless it were of his own dear sake, or for the sake of some stern duty. Then he took my hands in his, and oh, Lucy, it was the first time he took his wife's hand and said it was the dearest thing in all the wild world, and that he would go through all the past again to win it, if needed be. The poor dear meant to have said a part of the past, but he cannot think of a time yet, and I shall not wonder if it's the first he mixed up or not the only month but the year. See. Well, my dear, what could I say? I could only tell him that I was the happiest woman in the wide world, and that I had nothing to give him except myself, my life, and my trust, in which these went my love and duty for all days of my life. And my dear, when he kissed me and drew me to him with his poor weak hands, it was like a solemn plead between us. Dear Lucy, do you know why I tell you all this? It is not only because it is all sweet to me, but because have you been and are very dear to me. It was my privilege to be your friend and guide you when you came from the schoolroom to prepare for the world of life. I want to see you now, and with the eyes of a very happy wife, within duty has whither duty has led me, so that I am so that in your own married life you too may be all happy as I may. My dear, please Almighty God, your life may be all its promise and long days of sunshine, with no harsh winds, no forgetting duty, no distrust. I must not wish you no pain, for they can never be. But I do hope you will be always happy as I am now. Goodbye, my friend. I shall post this at once, and perhaps write to you very soon again. I must go, for Jonathan is waking. I must attend my husband. Your ever loving Mina Hawker. That's so cute. Man, you guys, we had a wedding in the book. Oh, so sweet. Letter Lucy Wetherna to Mina Hawker. Whitby, August 30. My dearest Mina, oceans of love and millions of kisses, and may you soon be in your own home with your husband. I wish you were coming home soon enough to stay with us here. The strong wind would soon restore Jonathan. It has quite restored me. I have an appetite like a cormorant. I am full of life and sleep well. You will be glad to know that I have quite given up walking in my sleep. I think I have not stirred out of my bed for a week, and it is when I once got into it at night. Arthur says I'm getting fat, by the way. I forgot to tell you that Arthur is here. We have such walks and drives and rides and rowing and tennis and fishing together. I love him more than ever. He tells me that he loves me more, but I doubt it. For the first time, he told me that he couldn't love me more than he did then. But this is nonsense. There he is calling me to me. So no more. Just just a present for you loving Lucy. P.S. Mother sent her love. She seems better, poor dear. PPPS. We are to be married on 20 September 28th. Damn. her future husband called her fat. Dr. Seward's diary, August 20th. The case of Renfield grows even more interesting. He has now so far quiet that there are spells of cessation from his passion. For the first week after his attack, he was peculantly violent. Then one night, just as the moon rose, he grew quiet and kept on murmuring, "Now I can wait, now I can wait." The attendant came to tell me, so I ran down at once to have a look at him. He's still in his strained waistcoat and in the padded room, but the suffused look had gone from his face, as I had something of their old pleading. I might almost say cringing softness. I was satisfied with his present condition, and the direct him to be relieved. The attendant hesitated, but finally carried out my wishes without protest. It was a strange thing that the patients had humor enough to see their distrust for coming close to me. He said in a whisper, all the while looking futilely at them, "They think I could hurt you. Fancy me hurting you. The fools." It was soothing somehow to the feeling to find myself disassociated even in mind of this poor madman from the others, but all the same I do not follow his thought. I am to take it that I have anything in common with him, so that we are, as it were, to stand together, or has he to gain from me some good, so stupendous that my well-being is needful to him? I must find out later on. Tonight he will not speak, even the offer of a kitten or even a full-grown cat will not tempt him. He will only say, "I don't take any stock in cat. I have more to think of now, and I can wait. I can wait." After a while, I left him. The attendant tells me that he was quiet until just before dawn, and then he begins to get uneasy and at length violent until at last he fell into a paroxysm which exhausted him so that he sworn into a sort of coma. 3 nights as the same thing happened, violent all day, then quiet from moonrise to sunrise. I wish I could get some clue to the cause. It would almost seem as if there were some sort of influence which came and went. Happy thoughts. We all tonight play sane wits against mad ones. Escaped before without our help. Tonight he shall escape with it. We shall give him a chance, and have the men ready to follow in case they were required. August 23rd. The expected always happen. Well, how well Disrael knew life. Our bird, when he found the cage open, would not fly, so all our subtle arrangement were for naught. At any rate, we have proven one thing, and that spell of quietness lasts a reasonable time. We shall in the future be able to ease his bounds for a few hours each day. I have given orders to the night attendant merely to shut him in the padded room. When once he is quiet until the hours before sunrise, the poor soul's body will enjoy the relief, even if his mind cannot appreciate it. Hark, the unexpected again, I'm called. The patient has once more escaped. Later, another night adventure. Renfield artfully waited until the tenant were entering the room to inspect. Then he dashed out past him and flew down the passage. I sent word for attendants to follow. Again he went into the ground of the deserted house. I found him in the same place, pressed against the old chapel door. When he saw me, he became furious, and had not the attendant seized him in time, he would have tried to kill me. As we were holding him, a strange thing happened. He suddenly redoubled his effort, and then I suddenly grew calm. I looked around instinctively, as could see nothing. Then I caught the patient's eye and followed it, but could trace nothing as it looked into the moonlight sky except a big fat bat. Oh wait, a big bat. Sorry, I didn't mean to add a fat. I called Dracula fat. I don't know why I added a big fat bat. To be fair, big fat bat sounds cute. Let's see here. A big bat which was flapping its silent and ghostly way to the west. Bats usually wheel about, but this one seemed to go straight on, as if it knew where it was bound for and had some intentions of its own. The patients grew calmer every instant, and presently said, "You needn't tie me, I shall go quietly. Without trouble we came back to the house." I felt there something ominous in his calm, and shall not forget about this night. One second, and a snack pocket. Yeah, you get really dry when you only drink water. I sometimes eat something or like nom on something, because then can I like get a little bit of break. Oh my god, I've almost drink 1 liter of water. God damn. Okay, let's continue. Lucy Westernar's diary. Hillingham, August the 24th. I must imitate Mina and keep writing things down. Then we can have a long talk when we do meet. I wonder when it will be. I wish you were with me again, for I feel so unhappy. Last night it seemed to be I seemed to be dreaming again, as was I was at Whitby. Perhaps it is the change of the air or getting home again. It's all dark and horrid to me, for I can remember nothing, but I am fully of vague fear, and I feel so weak and worn out. When Arthur came to lunch, he looked quite grieved when he saw me, and I hadn't the spirit to try to be cheerful. I wonder if I could sleep in my mother's room tonight. Shall I make an excuse to try? August 25th. Another bad night. Mother did not to take my seem to take my proposal. She seemed not too well herself, and doubtless she feared to worry me. I tried to keep awake and succeeded for a while, but when the clock struck 12, it waked me from a doze, so I must have been falling asleep. There was a sort of scratching or flapping at the window, but I did not mind it, as I remembered no more. I suppose I must have fallen asleep. More bad dreams. I wish I could remember them. This morning I'm horribly weak. My face is ghastly pale, and my throat pains me. It must be something wrong with me, my lungs, for I don't seem to be getting enough air. I shall try to cheer up when Arthur comes, or I'll know he will be miserable to see me so. Letter, Arthur to Dr. Seward. Albemarle Hotel, August the 31st. My dear Jack, I want you to do me a favor. Lucy is ill. That is, she has no special diseases. But she looks awful, and it's getting worse every day. I have asked her if there is any cause. I do not dare to ask her mother, for to disturb the poor lady's mind about her daughter in her present state of health would be fatal. Mrs. Westenra has confided to me that her doom is spoken. Disease of the heart, though poor Lucy does not know it yet. I am sure that there is something preying on my dear girl's mind. I am almost distracted when I think of her. To look at her giving me a pang. I told her I should ask. I told her I should ask you to see her, and though she demurred at first, I knew why, old fellow. She finally consented. It will be a painful task for you, I know, old friend, but it is for her sake, and I must not hesitate to ask, or you to act. You are to come to lunch at Hillingham tomorrow, 2 o'clock, so as not to arouse any suspicion in Mrs. Westenra. And after lunch, Lucy will take an appointment of not being alone with you. Oh, will take an opportunity of being alone with you. I'm filled with anxiety and want to console with you alone as soon as I can after you have seen her. Do not fail, Arthur. Telegram, Arthur Holmwood to Seward. September the 1st. I am summoned to see my father, who is worse. I am writing. Write me fully by tonight. Supposed to ring. Wire me if necessary. Letter from Dr. Seward to Arthur Holmwood, September 2nd. My dear old fellow, with regards to Miss Hestran's health, I hasten to let you know at once that in my opinion there is not any functional disturbances or malady that I know of. At the same time, I am not by any means satisfied with her appearance. She is woefully different from what she was when I saw her last. Of course, you must bear in mind that I did not have full opportunity of examining such as I should wish. Our very friendship makes a little difficulty which not even medical scientists or customs can bridge over. I have had better telling you exactly what happened, leaving you to draw in a measure your own conclusions. I shall then I shall then say what I have done and propose doing. I have found Miss Westerna in seemingly gay spirits. Wait, gay spirits? Like, but that doesn't sound like gloom. That sounds like. Uh, okay, I don't understand the sentence, but probably like gloomy. Her mother was present, and in a few seconds I made up my mind that she was trying all she knew to mislead her mother and prevent her from being anxious. I have no doubt she guesses, if she does not know what need to be caution there is. We lunched alone, and as well as we all exerted ourselves to be cheerful, we got as some kind of reward for our labors, some real cheerfulness among us. Then Mrs. Westerna went to lie down, and Lucy was left with me. We went into her boudoir. Until we got there, she gated remained, for the servants were coming and going. As soon as the door were closed, however, the mask fell from her face, and she sank down in a chair with a great sigh, and hid her eyes with her hand. When I saw that her high spirit had failed, I at once took advantage of her reaction to make a diagnosis. She said to me very sweetly, "I cannot tell you how I loathed talking about myself." I reminded her that a doctor's confidential was sacred, but that you were grievously anxious about her. She caught on to my meaning at once and settled the matter with words. "Tell Arthur everything you choose. I do not care for myself but for him, so I am quite free." I could easily see that she was somewhat bloodless, but I could not see the usual enigma signs by the chance. I was able to test the actual quality of her blood, for in opening a window which was stiff, a cord gave away, and she cut her hand slightly with the broken glass. It was a slight matter in itself, uh, but it gave me an evident chance, and I secured a few drops of blood and have analyzed them. The qualitative analysis gave me a quite normal condition and showed I could infer in itself a vigorous state of health. In other physical matters, I was quite satisfied that there is no need for anxiety, but there must be a cause somewhere. I have come to the conclusion that it must be something mental. She complains of difficulty breathing, satisfaction at time, and of heavy, lethargic sleep, with dreams that frighten her, but regarding which she can remember nothing. She says that as a child she used to walk in her sleep, and that when in Whitby the habit came back, and that once she walked out in the night and went to Eastcliff, where Miss Mura found her. But she assured me that the last that me that of late the habit has not returned. I am in doubt that and so have done. I'm in doubt and so have done the best thing I know of. I have written to my old friend and master, Professor Van Helsing, in Amsterdam. Ooh, you guys, it's Helsing. Oh my god. Yay. Who knows much more about obscure diseases as anyone in the world. I have asked him to come over as you told me that all things were to be at your charge. I have mentioned to him who you are, your relationship to Miss Westerna. This may, this, my dear fellow, is a obedience to your wishes, for I may only too proud and happy to do anything I can for her. Va? Jag lite. My cat. Yeah, you have food. Okay. Van Helsing would, I know, do anything for me for a personal reason. So no matter on what ground he comes, we must accept his wishes. He's a seemingly arti- arbitrary, oh my god, this word, arbitrary man. There we go. This is because he knows what he's talking about better than anybody else. He's a philosopher and a physician, and one of the most advanced scientists of his day. And he has, I believe, an absolute open mind. This is with an iron nerve, a temper of the ice brook, and an indomitable resolution, self-command, and toleration, exceeding of the virtues to blessings, and the kindliest and truest heart that beats. Therefore, his equipment for the noble work that he is doing for mankind works both in theory and practice, for his views are as wide as his all-embracing sympathy. I tell you this fact that you may know why I am such confident in him. I have asked him to come at once. I shall see Miss Westerner tomorrow again. She is to meet me at the stores, so that I may not alarm her mother too early. Her mother by too early a recipient of my call. Yours always, John Stewart. Letter Abraham Van Helsing, M.D.P. D.Ph.D. L.E.T. E.T.C. E.T.C. That's a lot. To Dr. Stewart. September 2nd. My good friend, when I received your letter, I am already coming to you. By good fortune, I can leave just at once, without wrong to any of those who have trusted me. Where fortune other, then it's were bad of those who have trusted, for I come to my friend when he calls me to aid those he hold dear. Tell your friend that when that time you suck from my wound to to swiftly the potion of the gangrene of the knife, that's our other friend, too nervous, let slip. You did more for him when he wanted my aid, and you called for them than all his great fortune could do. But it is a pleasure added to do for him, your friend. It is to you that I come. Have near at hand, and please it so arrange that we may see the young lady not too late on tomorrow, for it is likely that I may have to return here that night. Oh my god, I sounded like a robot when I said that night. But if needed to be, I shall come again in 3 days, and stay longer if I must. Till then, goodbye, my friend John Van Helsing. Letter Dr. Seward to Hon Arthur Holmwood, September 3rd. My dear Art, Van Helsing has come and gone. He's come on with me to Hillham's and found that by Lily's discretion her mother was lunching out, so we were alone with her. Van Helsing made a very careful examination of the pawn. He is to report to me, and I shall advise you. For of course, I was not present at all time. He is, I fear, much concerned, uh, but he says he must think. When I'm told him of our friendship and how you trust me in the matter, he said, you must tell him all your things. Let's see. If you can guess it, if you will, nay, I am not jesting. This is not a jest, but life and death, perhaps more. I asked what he meant by that, for he's very serious. This was when we had come back to town, and he was having a cup of tea before starting on his return to Amsterdam. He would not give me any further clue. You must not be angry with me, Art, because his very resurgence means that all his brain are working for her good. He will speak plainly enough when the time comes, be sure. So I told him I would simply write an account of our visit, just as if I were doing a reciprocative special article for the Daily Telegraph. He seemed to not notice, but remarked that the smut of London were not quite so bad as they used to be when he was a student here. I am here. I'm to get his report tomorrow, if he can possibly make it. In any case, I am to have a letter. Well, as the visit, Lucy was more cheerful than the other day I first saw her, and certainly looked better. She had lost something of the ghastly look that so upset you, and her breathing was normal. She was very sweet to the professor, as she always is, and tried to make him feel at ease, although I could see that the poor girl was making a hard struggle for it. I believe Van Helsing saw it too, for I saw the quick look under his bushy brows, and I knew of old. Then he began to chat of all things expect of self, and diseases, and which such a infinite generality that I could see the poor Lucy's presentence of animation merge into reality. Then, without any seeming change, he brought the conversation gently around to his visit, and surely said, my dear young miss, I have the so great pleasure because you are so much beloved, that I must, my dear, even wear that which I do not see. They told me that you were down in spirit, and that you were ghastly pale. To them I said, poof, and he snapped his finger at me and went on, but you and I shall show them that the wrong they are. How can he be? And he pointed at me, with the same look and gesture as that with which he pointed me out in his class, on or rather after, in particular occasions which he never failed to remind me of. Know anything of young ladies, as his madmen to play with, and to bring them back to happiness, and those that loved him, it is much to do. Oh, but there are rewards in which we can bestow such happiness. But the young ladies, he had no wife nor daughters, and the young do not tell themselves to be young, but but to the old like me, who have known too many sorrows and the cause of them. So, my dear, we will send him away to smoke the cigar in the garden, while you and I have a little talk to ourselves. I told I took the hint and strolled about, and presently the professor came to the window and called me in. He looked grave, but said, "Have made careful examination, but there is no functional cause. Would you agree that there has been much blood loss? It has been, but is not. But the condition of her are in no way anemic. I have asked her to send uh, me her maid, and I may ask just one or two questions, and so that I may not chance to miss nothing. I know well what she will say, and yet there is cause. There is always cause for everything. I must go back home and think. You must send me a telegram every day if there be cause I shall come back again. The disease, for not to be well with disease, interests me, and the sweet young dear, she interests me too. She charms me, and for her, if not for your or the disease, I come. As as if as I tell you, he would not say a word, even when we were alone, and so now, Art, you know all I know. I shall keep stern watch. I trust your poor father is rallying. It must be a terrible thing to you, my dear old friend, to be placed in such a position between two people who are both so dear to you. I know your idea of duty to your father, and you are right to stick to it, but if need be, I shall send you word to come at once to Lucy, so not to be over anxiety unless you hear from me. Dr. Stewart's diary, September 4th. So Farragut's patient still keeps up our interest in him. He had only one outburst, and that was yesterday at the unusual time. Just before the stroke of noon, he began to growl restlessly. The attentive knew the symptoms at once and summoned aid. Fortunately, the men came at a run and were just in time. For the stroke of noon, he began to became so violent that it took all their strength to hold him. In about 5 minutes, however, he began to get more quiet and finally sank into some sort of melancholy, in which the state they remained up until now. The tenant tells me that his screams while in the proxy were really appalling. I found that my hand full when I got it, attended to some of the other patients who were frightened by him. Indeed, I can quite understand the effect, for the sounds disturbed even me, though I was some distance away. It is now after the dinner hour of the asylum, and as yet my patient sits in a corner brooding, with a dull, sullen, would begone look in his face, which is rather seemed rather to indicate that they show something directly. I cannot quite understand it. And I need to run to the bathroom really quick, so BRB. Okay, I'm back again. Oh, Jesus. Okay, let's see, where was I? Right. Later, another change in my patient. At 5 o'clock, I looked in on him and found him seemingly as happy and content as he used to be, and he was catching flies and eating them, and keep noting of his capture by making nail marks on the edge of the door between the ridges of the padding. When he saw me, he came over and apologized for his bad conduct, and asked me in a very humble, cringy way to be led back into his own room and to have his notebook again. I thought it well to humor him, so he is back in his room with the window open, as he has sugar for his tea spread out on the window sill and is repeating quite a harvest of flies. He is not now eating them, but putting them in a little box. As of old, he's already examining the corners of his room to find a spider. I tried to get him to talk about the past few days, for any clues of his thoughts would be of immense help to me, but he would not rise. For a moment or two he looked very sad, and said in a sort of far away voice, as though saying rather to himself than me, "All over, all over. He has deserted me. No hope for me now unless I do it myself." Then, suddenly turning to me in a resoluting way, he said, "Doctor, won't you be good to me and let me have a little bit more sugar? I don't think it would be. I don't think it. I think it would be very good for me." "And the flies," I said. "Yes, the flies like it too. And I like the flies, therefore I like it. And there are people who know so little as to think that madmen do not argue." A prick cursed him a double supply, and left him a happy man, happy as a man as I suppose any in the world, and I wish I could fathom his mind. Midnight, another change in him. I had been to see Miss Westerna, who I found much better, and had just returned and was standing out of her own gate, looking at the sunset, when once more I heard him yelling, as his room is on the side of the house. I could hear it better than in the morning. It was a shock to me to turn from the wonderful smoky beautiful of the sunset over London, with its lurid light and inky shadow, at the marvelous tint that comes on foul clouds, even on foul water, and to realize all the grim sternness of my own cold stone building, with its weathered of breath breathing misery, and my own desolate heart to endure it all. I reached him just as the sun was going down, and from his window saw the red disk sink. As it sank, he became less and less rancid, and just as it dipped, he slid from the hand and held him, an inert mass on the floor. It is wonderful, however, that the intelligent reciprocative power lunatics have, for within a few minutes he stood up, quite calm, and looked around him. I signaled for the attendant not to hold him, for I was anxious to see what he would do. He went straight over to the window and brushed out the crumbs of sugar. Then he took his flying box and emptied it outside and threw away the box. Then he shut the window and crossed over and sat down on his bed. All this surprised me, so I asked him, "Are you going to are you going to keep more flies?" No, I'm sick of all that rubbish. His certainty is a wonderful, interesting study. I wish I could get some glimpses into his mind, cause his sudden passion stopped. There may be a clue after all. If we can find why today his paramoxy came on the high noon and the sunset, can it be that there is a manly influx in the sun at a period which affects a certain nature, as at times the moon does to others? We shall see. Telegram Seward London to Van Helsing Amsterdam. September 4. Patient still better today. Telegram Stewart London to Van Helsing Amsterdam. September 5th. Patient greatly improved. Good appetite. Sleep naturally. Good spirit. Colors coming back. Telegram Stewart London to Van Helsing Amsterdam. September 6th. Terrible change for the worse. Come back at once. Do not lose an hour. I hold over telegram to hold them till I have seen you. Well then. That was very unexpected. Well then, I shall not continue reading because now we're gonna be in chapter 10. And I'm pretty sure we can wait until next Friday, hopefully. Let's see, what would it be then? Oh, cat. Let's see. 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, it's gonna take me a few weeks to read this. But what do you guys think so far about the book? Sure, it might not be the most excellent reader, because reading Old English is a little bit hard, probably even for the average English reader. But I could be wrong. But yeah, I enjoy the book so far. I vaguely remember what has happened and stuff like that, but not the actual details. And now I'm literally reading a whole ass book from start to finish. So yeah, it's very exciting. Sure, the only thing downside with reading this much is that my mouth gets really dry, but the bonus part, I drink a lot of water. So I'm trying to stay positive. It's still very, very much fun reading like Bram Stoker's Dracula. It feels like I get a little bit of a perspective in like the writer's mind, and it's nice. I can see he put a lot of passion into his book, and it's really nice to get a view on, like, obviously it's not the perfect like description on how his book is, but yeah, I certainly like, everybody imagine things. For example, like the churchyard where everything seems to happen. It's like I can imagine it being like sort of like on a cliff, and it's like have a great view and stuff like that. But yeah. But I hope you guys enjoyed this reading, and if you want to, if you haven't, like, heard the beginning, you can always go to my YouTube channel where you have all the, oh my god, brain, all the other past chapters. So this is like part 4. So usually with each stream, it's usually like 2 chapters, because it literally take me 2 hours to read 2 chapters. So yeah, I'm a little bit slow, but it's still fun though. And eventually I will get better on reading books, and eventually doing, reading voices. But I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope you guys have a lovely Friday 13. So I'm gonna remember that I'm on chapter 10, but yeah, should not be hard to remember. But yeah, you guys enjoy your weekend, and have fun, and try not to stub your toes on the Friday 13. Take care, my dear hatchlings. Bye bye.